Do you ever find yourself yelling at your kid at bedtime only to end up feeling guilty and then still be struggling to get them to go to bed? Well, today, let's talk about why yelling doesn't work and what you can do instead to create calm, cooperative bedtimes. If you are sick and tired of turning into mean mommy at night, this episode is for you. Raise your hand if you've ever found yourself saying, "Just go to bed," in your loudest, most exasperated mom voice. Yeah, I see you. Us. I see us. But the truth is, if yelling were going to work, your kid would be sleeping peacefully already, right? So what's going on here? Why doesn't yelling work? Why does yelling actually make things worse? Let me break this down for you today and show you some proven strategies that are going to transform your night. Let me paint you a picture. This might be a picture that you're all too familiar with. It's 8:45. Your goal was to have your kid in bed by 8, but here you are again, standing in the hallway, voice raised, and your kid just defiant as all get out. They're doing everything but getting into bed. They're running down the hallway. They're hiding under the bed. It seems like no matter what you do, it feels like a game. You feel your blood pressure rising, and before you know it, you yell, "Get in bed now!" And for a brief second, they freeze. And you think, "Oh, good, maybe I finally got through to them." But then in the next second, the tears start, the meltdown begins, or even worse, more defiance. Your kid doubles down on the bad behavior. Now they're kicking and they're screaming and they're begging. They're hungry. They want another book. They want another hug. They just want one more episode of Bluey, whatever it might be. But all of a sudden, bedtime has really spiraled into chaos. And instead of feeling more in control after losing your temper, now you just feel guilty, exhausted, frustrated, and wondering, why does this keep happening? Here's why yelling doesn't actually work. It's a short-term reaction to a long-term problem. Yes, it might momentarily get your child's attention, but it doesn't show them what to do instead. Actually, yelling makes bedtime harder. Let's break down why. The first big reason is that yelling increases stress. So when you yell, it doesn't make your kid think, "Oh, wow, I should really listen to mom right now." No, instead their brain goes into fight or flight mode. Their little nervous system is like flooded with stress hormones that makes them more anxious, it makes them more resistant, and it makes them want to push back even more. So now, instead of calming down for sleep, their body is literally wired for battle. That's why yelling often leads to bigger meltdowns and longer bedtimes and just more anxiety and chaos for everybody. The second reason is that it breaks trust. Bedtime should be a time of connection and safety and winding down. But when you start yelling, it makes your child feel unsafe. It makes them feel unsure. They're not quite sure what's going to happen next. And everything just gets too emotional. So instead of relaxing, they start clinging or stalling or just even pushing your boundaries even more to see how you'll react. Why? Because predictability creates a sense of security. So if bedtime is always unpredictable, where like you try to be calm some nights and other nights you're frustrated and yelling, it makes your kid want to push harder to figure out where the boundaries actually are. The third reason is that it reinforces negative attention seeking. Kids are wired to seek attention from you. Our attention is like gold to them, whether it's positive attention or negative attention. So if they've learned that stalling or whining or pushing back against your rules gets a big reaction from you, even if that reaction is yelling, guess what? They're going to keep doing it because it got your attention. Because to them, attention is attention. And if they can't get your attention and connection through positive behaviors, they'll take it however they can get it, even if that means pushing you to your breaking point. And listen, I get it. You're not yelling because you want to. You're yelling because you're frustrated and you feel out of options and you don't know what else to do. But I promise you, there is another way. You can set boundaries without yelling. You can get your child to cooperate without losing your temper. And you can set up a bedtime routine that goes smoothly and leaves everybody feeling calm and connected and ready for bed. That's what I'm going to show you next. Here's what you do instead. You set healthy boundaries using positive discipline. This is the approach that actually works. Now, positive discipline is not about being permissive, and it's not about letting your toddler run the show. It's the foundation for setting firm, consistent boundaries that teach cooperation instead of resistance. So to set healthy boundaries, there's a few things you need to do. The first is set clear expectations so that your child really knows what to expect at night. Then you need to use a calm, firm tone of voice that's going to convey your parental confidence, not frustration. You also need to reinforce positive behaviors so your child knows exactly what you want them to be doing. And then kind of along those same lines, you need to redirect their behavior so your child learns what to do instead of just learning what not to do. So let me show you what this looks like at bedtime. Here are 4 foundational strategies to make bedtime go much more smoothly without yelling. So the first, like I said, is setting clear expectations. So kids need to know exactly what is going to happen at bedtime. And the more specific, the better. When you say something vague like, all right, time to get ready for bed, then it leaves so much gap in communication. So it's better if you can be really specific and say, okay, first we need to brush our teeth, then we need to get our PJs on, we're gonna read 2 books, we're gonna get in bed, we're gonna listen to our Tony box, and then it's lights off time for sleep. So see how that's much more specific. Your child knows exactly what to expect. And it's even better if you write that bedtime routine out so your child can see it visually with some little icons for each step. The second is use a calm, firm tone of voice. In most cases with kids, how you say something is going to matter even more than what you're saying. So like if you sound stressed and exasperated, your kid's going to pick up on that. So that's why it's important, instead of snapping at them, to use a neutral, calm, firm tone of voice. You want to come across as authoritative, but not aggressive. The third is reinforce positive behaviors. This is so important. We really want to make sure that we are praising and acknowledging our kids for anything they're doing right, even if it is something tiny. You'll see a lot more good behavior if you're saying, hey, great job brushing your teeth. You did a really great job. The dentist is going to be so proud of you. Great job climbing into bed by yourself. Great job putting on your PJs. The more you can really be reinforcing all those positive behaviors, the smoother bedtime is going to go. Okay, and number 4 is redirect instead of punish. In the moment, instead of saying, stop getting out of bed or stay in bed, what you want to do is you want to prep your kid ahead of time and make sure they have a clear understanding of what their responsibility is and what your expectations are. So you can say something like, your job is to stay in bed. Or you can say, I know it feels tough, but I believe you can do it. When you shift from reacting to teaching and holding clear boundaries, bedtime becomes so much easier for everybody. Now, let's talk about some very common accidental mistakes that are going to make bedtime tougher every night for sure. The first is reacting emotionally. If you meet your kids' chaos with chaos, bedtime is sure to spiral. You've got to stay calm, even when it's tough. The second thing is being inconsistent. So when you let the rules slide one night, but then you try to enforce them the next night, that's confusing to your kid. They really don't know what to expect, and that's going to invite more stalling and more pushback. So be consistent. And the last thing is focusing on the negative. If you're always hounding them on what they're doing wrong, they're never going to understand what they're doing right. So find something, even if it is tiny, even if you can just say, I love how your voice is so calm right now. I love how your body is not running around the kitchen. Anything small can really help so that you're not always focusing on the negative. If you can avoid these common mistakes, you are going to see huge improvements very quickly. And hey, if you like this video, please be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any more of my expert sleep tips. And if you need even more help creating a very peaceful evening and a peaceful bedtime routine, check out this video.